This is Kieran, Coach's Corner Chats podcast. Today, I'm excited to have Byron Gutierrez on with me. Byron, go ahead and just give us a little background for those that maybe don't know of you and what have you, and kind of where you're at and what you're doing in terms of the soccer world.
Yeah, so I coach high school girls in Oklahoma. I coach club as well in Oklahoma, and I'm a teacher. So that's just where I'm at right now, and enjoying myself at the high school level as well as a club level. And at the club level, I just coach a rec U14. So
Does the Rec U14 girls end up going into your high school program?
well, no, because they're two complete different entities, I guess you would say. I coach at the club level. I coach in my hometown, which is 45 to 50 minutes away from the high school that I'm at.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So they would go to a different school district or school.
Yeah, but there's no high school soccer around the club that I coach at. So that's all the soccer exposure that they get.
Oh, wow. I did not even. So the girls that you're coaching at U14 would then continue to play at 15, 16, and that's the only soccer they have.
And it's co-ed.
And it's boys and girls. Wow.
Yeah.
So how do the players handle that scenario? Not having, do they yearn for high school soccer and what have you?
I wouldn't think so because they don't know what high school soccer is. So this is normal to them. This U14 co-ed is just what they've been doing because it's a small town club. So it's just normal for them.
So then, what's it like? What's the balancing act of like dealing with them and then going to the high school girls?
They're at the club level, U14 co-ed. I guess I would have to take it a little bit less serious. Not that I'm a military sergeant or anything like that, but understanding that there'll be just different levels of playing. But I actually try to coach them the same way. I might have to adjust the games based on the technical skill level of like our high school girls and our club team, but I just try to coach them the same way, philosophy, same style of play, just because it's what I'm comfortable at, and if I have to adjust, I'll adjust accordingly with them. So,
do you think it helps having like different style, like I guess maybe talent level stuff to kind of try things out, and then that kind of helps you see like, oh, this works with my high school girls, not so much with the co-ed or vice versa?
Yeah, I have to adjust all the time. So I'm learning as I go, which it makes me look like I'm lost sometimes, but I love it. It just challenges me. It challenges our players to adjust as well. So I think it's a good challenge for me on a weekly basis when I'm coaching co-ed and high school.
So is the co-ed group, do they play in an actual like co-ed league and such?
So they would play like in a U14 boys league, but if the other teams have co-ed, then they would just play a co-ed team.
How do the girls handle that challenge of having boys either on the team or boys to go against?
I think they enjoy having the boys on the team. So we're new to the club. My daughter's on the team as well.
Okay.
So I'm new to the club. I was new this year coaching, but the other boys and girls have been with each other, so it's normal for them. And then just playing against the boys, it's a little bit. Actually, I think if it was an all-girls team, I think it would be more physical. I'm surprised. I think it would be more physical if it was all girls than just the boys and girls playing together. I think they try to play just soccer rather than trying to bump or tackle hard, things like that. I think they just try to just try to play accordingly. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Uh, so that's eye opening for me that there are kids at the high school age that may not even have. I've talked about that on some of my things like that I've been putting out is just the
yeah,
opportunities for kids. And so it surprises me just honestly that there are a group of 14, 15, 16-year-old kids that don't maybe have the same pathways as so many others do. And just to be just 45 minutes away from where you're coaching a high school team, and then there isn't that opportunity. But I think it's cool that the club that you are at gives that opportunity for those kids to play.
yes, and we're trying to make it grow a little bit. And I became the DOC there, so I'm excited for that challenge as well. It's a small club, but we're just trying to get on the same page and just give kids opportunity to play. And then we partnered up with United Soccer Academies, which that's with John Johnson on Twitter.
Okay.
We're gonna try and start an academy there for U7 through U11, just to maybe just to get more exposure, more time with coaches like myself to continue training, rather than just training twice a week or once a week.
So in terms of the DOC and all that type of stuff, how long have you been kind of in the mix as a soccer coach and what have you?
So I've just been coaching for 5 years, right out of college. And I just started coaching high school soccer. The school that I was going to, I knew that I was going to be hired there. I knew they had a soccer program, but the head coach was leaving. So they just told me, once I was in the interview process, hey, you'll be the boys and girls head high school soccer coach. And I was excited, but I absolutely had no idea what I was about to get into.
Yeah, so I just went through my first year, as you know, and at the high school level, and I was the same way. I went in and I will get your kind of feedback on that experience as to I got so focused on, oh, we're going to play this formation. Here's our style of play, and then it was so many other things. Other question is, did you play soccer as a kid coming up?
I played one time in 8th grade, and then after 8th grade during the high school, I moved to Oklahoma, and I didn't know in the area there was soccer, so I didn't get to play again until my senior year, and then freshman year of college, and then I played club soccer for my college my freshman year, and then I transferred to my university, which is a local university, and then just walked on the JV boys soccer program. So I'm actually probably a better player now than I would have ever thought of when I was a teenager or a young adult. So.
And how do you think you'd be a better player now than when you were a player?
I try to use what I coach when I'm playing pickup soccer and things like that. So I definitely need talent around me, because I found out if I'm the guy, I am not the guy. So if I have better players around me, I look good. So.
Yeah, it is. I think you probably found it too, especially with like even the teaching side. Like for me, when I look back at my first 3 to 5 years of teaching, I was an absolute mess.
Yeah.
It was survival. And now I feel like so much more confident and what have you. I'm not so much worried about the content now. It's just about how to deliver it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then you were saying you moved to Oklahoma. So where were you before you got to Oklahoma?
I moved from Miami, Florida, during high school, my freshman year. And
born and raised in Miami, or?
Yeah. Just the town's called Hialeah, which is like 20 minutes. It's a suburb, 20 minutes from Miami. So my family, they were immigrants, but they stayed there and became citizens. So that's where I was born and raised, essentially. But yeah, I'm in Oklahoma now, so I consider myself an Oklahoman. But all my sports teams, as you have mentioned, I stay with my Miami
I was going to
So
say, and things are turning around in Miami. Your Heat played really well. The Dolphins, who used to be kind of a, kind of a
man,
laughing stock, are now.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah,
fun to see
20.
them and the Bills to playing better.
Yeah, 20 years of mediocrity. It's really good to see, and it just seeing the culture change in Miami. The Heat have their own culture. They're never trying to tank or anything like that. It's cool to see, and maybe like, not that I'll ever be Pat Riley or Brian Flores or anything like that, but just try to build upon that within our teams, soccer. It's kind of cool to be able to see that in person rather than going 8-8 on the Dolphin season for like the fifth time in a row, or watching the Heat not be able to make it to the playoffs because injuries and things like that. But there's no excuses. They just continue to rely on their strong culture, and it's cool to see. It's cool to see that now. So
You bring up that buzzword of culture and stuff.
yeah.
Is that something that I'm sure you're trying to instill within your girls at the high school level, and now at the director, that's something you're trying to instill within like all your coaches and players and
Right.
families and parents. What things have you found kind of maybe successful with maybe just your high school program or just anything in general that you've kind of dealt with that you think helps kids buy in and what have you?
I think culture. I think like being assertive in the sense of like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to continue to do, and that's just the way it's going to be. There's no like I feel like you have to set your standards and expectations and values first, and not stray away from those to where you're not being questioned about them. So like at the high school level, we lift twice a week. We're going to do that all season. Maybe we'll adjust accordingly, to games, but that's just what we do. We have a dress code, school colors. That's just what we do. The communication between players and coaches, like if you're not going to be at practice, do the club, or now we have COVID and exposure, things like that. Yeah. Communication is you have to do that. You have to communicate with the coaches. It's just what we do. And then at the club level, now it's just trying to get parents and coaches under the same banner in a sense, rather than different teams coaching different.
Mm-hmm.
I think coaching education would be huge once we get that set up for the culture of the club and how we want to develop our players. So again, just standards and values and expectations, they can be questioned as long as it's the betterment for the program. So,
do you think that the ones that they'll pretty much be similar across the board for both the club setting and for your high school setting?
Ask that first part again. I didn't get that first part.
Do you think it'll be consistent across the board for both the club setting and the high school?
It'd be consistent, and then I would think so. And then the ones that aren't consistent with it, you'll be able to tell who's not going to be consistent with it, and just being able to set that standard and culture. The people that aren't consistent with it will stand out. So then those people that stand out, you'll have to have conversations with them, like, what can we do to help you feel, whether it's like feeling a part of the club or feeling a part of the team, or you want to do things differently, just having those conversations of how to include them and not exclude them. So,
what has there been? I guess how have the coaches at the club been open to the idea of a kind of a unified program versus I'm coaching my own type of thing? Are they paid coaches? Are they parent volunteer type things? Or
yeah, it's all parent volunteer. So I volunteer my time as well with the U14 team. We are not there yet. So after Christmas, we're going to launch our coaching education program. And I'll definitely keep you updated on how that's going to go. But with the president of the club on board, and he coaches a team as well, he's just excited to have a unified system, a unified playing style. I think that helps with the teams, helps with us coaches. Like if we have to adjust and coach maybe a different team, the kids aren't just like, what I don't know what receiving across the body is, things like that. So
Yeah, I think it's cool, and that was one of the things when I was a director was trying to get people to buy in. I think that's always like the hardest part, even not just even from players or from parents, especially parents. Parents are loons, as you know, because most of them aren't educated or understand the game to the benefit or the level they need to be.
right.
But I like the one thing that you have a win. It sounds like if you've got the guy that's at the top who's
Yes.
buying in and he'll be role modeling it, that's always a win.
That's a win. And it's a small club too, so we don't have a whole lot of teams. So we're just starting small and hoping it expands. And if it doesn't expand, then our players will be better for the program. So
Well, the cool thing too is you're able to, if you have a handful of teams playing a certain style and a certain way, it's so much easier to not sell it, but to share to people like, hey, if you want to come here, here's look at this team over here. This is how we play. Oh, look, it's just like this team over here that we play. So there's a consistent. I think I hear so many parents and players talk about like depending on who I get as a coach in the club, that controls my experience.
Right,
You know what I mean? And the cool thing sounds like for you is you're trying to say, look, I want all the players and coaches and what have you to have the same experience in here. So it's not oh, I wish I was on that team or all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. We just want to be unified. If we're gonna be under the club, we're gonna play the same way. I mean, you'll have to adjust accordingly, but if we all have the same playing style, same philosophies, but with each and every coach, they'll have their own individual creativity within that. I think that just adds, I guess, awesomeness to the program itself. So,
well, it sounds cool too that you've kind of linked up with like a bigger entity in that U.S. Academy kind of idea, which I think is really cool to have someone who's already got already a structure in place.
Right.
And having that contact person makes it so much easier because he's always putting out content and sharing stuff. So
yeah, all the time. So I mean, we met through. I met you through Twitter. I met him through Twitter. So it's been pretty awesome to be able to share ideas and then unify within an idea to, I met this guy on Twitter and now we're going to try and make this club in Oklahoma, better,
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you said, it's pretty cool to be able to unify that way.
It's one of the cool things of social media for sure. Like there's so many kind of negatives and people stuff and all this kind of stuff. So you have to kind of weigh work your way through stuff. I think one of the guys I talked to the other day on a Zoom was called a brain pollution because there's just so much kind of crap that gets put out. But it's cool though, because when you can link with people that are passionate into it, in for the kids, want to learn, like it's not, you're talking about coaching education and all this kind of stuff. Like I think was one of the things that resonated with me just even through Twitter. And so I was excited to chat with you. You brought up and you mentioned COVID. So how is that? Does Oklahoma play? So high school, do they play in the fall, the spring? How does you guys are spring?
But we started practice December 1st.
And so what are there restrictions? It seems like every coach you talk to has a different set of standards.
Club, there's really no restrictions in Oklahoma. High school, they have to be wearing a mask unless they're actively participating.
Okay.
So we can practice normal, but as soon as they're done with practice, mask on, sanitizer ready to go. But club was normal, like, just there's no COVID in club, but in high school there's COVID, so we have to be aware of that.
So will you be coaching the club in the spring as well, along with high school?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to have to – that's new.
Yeah.
I was I was assistant before. I was an assistant coach in club before. So if I had a high school games, like, hey, I can't make it. So now that I'm leading a team or coaching a team, it's just now we're just gonna have to figure out what days and times can be available for for our players at the club. Because I'm under contract with the high school, so I
Yeah.
can't. I'm not missing high school games.
Wow.
So we'll just see. We'll see how that works. But I do enjoy the high school season in the spring. Uh, it's cold at first, but then you get that spring weather, 60 degrees every day. It's awesome to play and practice in and coach in.
Um, and I've seen some of you guys have play on turf.
Yeah, we play on turf. Yeah,
Yeah, that's an awesome thing to have. Looks like a great facility.
yeah. It's one of the bigger schools in Oklahoma, and so we play on the east side of the. We play east side high schools, so we'll be playing the biggest schools that the state can offer. So we're excited about that.
So, like, where in Oklahoma is the school located? Kind of central or?
Yeah, it's central. So I would say it's like 20 minutes, 25 minutes from Oklahoma City. I would say north of Oklahoma City.
Okay.
It's Edmond, Oklahoma. And I might be wrong on the north, but it's only 20, 25 minutes from Oklahoma City.
And now, do your players that come into the high school, do you find that and most of them are playing club?
Yes. I've been at high school programs where no one's playing club. All these girls are playing club soccer. They're playing year-round soccer. They're playing at different levels of, the club level, whether it's the former DA or just, competitive or even rec. They're playing year-round. So I'm really lucky to have those type of players. And now for them, I focus more tactically than I would technically, just because I feel like they would. I mean, and just watching them and seeing them, they get their technical work at the club level. So
I think it's cool that you made the observation of what was going to help them or help your program, and like you said, like the technical side. With them coming in and being like pretty talented,
pretty talented.
Is that how do I say this? Like kind of scary, I guess, in a way, to have to do it. Like, holy smokes, I got to raise my coaching up. What can I do? Because I don't want to send them back to their club setting, and they're like, "What the heck did you guys do for 3 months?"
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, starting out, like I guess when I got hired and understanding what type of level of players I was going to have, it was intimidating. And then knowing the club culture around, like they have a high expectation of their clubs. So, but then once we started practice, I'm confident tactically on what we want to do and how we want to play. So that confidence helps me with the girls. And the girls, I mean, they ask questions and they're like, should we do this or should we do that? Or can we do this? Can we do that? And I said, hey, I'm open to all suggestions, but if I don't like them, we're not doing them. But if I like them, we'll do them. So sometimes they set up their own games like over the river, things like that. And as long as it's fitting the tactical concepts of what we're trying to do, I mean, we'll do it, but just it was intimidating at first just because of what type of level of girls I was going to have. But I was set in stone with my philosophy, or I am set in stone with my philosophy and coaching style to where once we got on that field, it was normal. It was normal. It's just like I'm coaching any other kids. So
I think it's awesome that, one, you at least listen to their input. That was one of the things that I gained through this first year was, as a coach, you get so hyper focused on certain things sometimes that you miss what's going on, and we're not out there playing.
Right.
So,
yeah, we're not.
Yeah. So when we're saying, hey, I need that ball to go to blah, 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 well, in their head, they're like, whatever it is, like, I feel like
Mhm.
there's pressure on me, or I don't think I have time, or the ball came in too fast, like just whatever it might be. So I think it's cool that you at least, and to at least say, look, at the end of the day, I'm running the show.
Yeah.
So we'll do what I say, but I think kids, we don't give them enough credit. Their soccer IQs are, I think, getting higher and higher because so much soccer
Yeah,
is on uh,
absolutely.
TV. We've got better coaches like you in the mix who are putting better things in place for uh, players to learn. Um, so then you were talking about like playing style, and I know you brought up about like I like to see it in the club, I like to see it at the high school level. So if I go and watch your teams play, what things are those things that maybe I'm going to see consistently from your girls, or maybe
Um, we try to, yeah, in the co-ed team as well. We try to focus on individual play, just being confident on the ball, or just taking risk 1v1. But also trying to have them understand like what options do you have? Why are these options maybe better? You know, who's an option that's available? And then if we can go forward, we'll go forward. You know, playing out of the back, playing in the midfield, uh, trying to circulate the ball, trying to like keep the ball in the attacking third to find an opening rather than crossing the ball all the time. That's what we're focusing on. So positional play, I feel like is what we do at the club level, and then at the high school girls, that's what I'm comfortable with.
I think it's cool that you brought up the like who's an option, when can I play this, where can I play it. I think those kind of thought processes kids don't think about so much. They go, as you probably already know, so much of just I'm just going to kick it forward toward our
Yeah,
goal, and there's no thought process to like, why did you do that? I have
right.
no idea. I just naturally just whipped it. uh,
Yeah,
and like you said, I've seen it numerous times where a kid will be probably the only one in the final third on the wing and will play a cross in, and there's nobody there. And then
hmm,
people, everybody's like, where is everybody? Well, why'd you cross it in the first place then if you knew it
right.
was there? Um,
Yeah,
so,
and we just try to, if we can go forward, we'll go forward. So if the keeper finds somebody open, the striker open, like go ahead and give it to the striker. Then we're not. If we can, we'll play out of the back. But if we don't need to, we won't. So it's just I like coaching players. We all have to adjust accordingly to what the opposing team gives us. So
um, the idea with the club team, that still just baffles me that there's not a high school opportunity uh, for them. Is there a chance
yeah,
at some point that maybe there could be?
I would not think so. It's really small schools.
I mean, is it just because like even numbers wise they wouldn't have enough players?
I would think so. I would think the number wise, and just with a small school setting, baseball is king in the spring, track
Yeah.
king in the spring. So I just would not think. Now we go 15 minutes to another town, and it's a bigger town. They have high school soccer, so it's just crazy how the kids have to go to school within their district. So if they live within the district, they have to go to school there. So if there's no exposure to soccer, then there's no reason to miss or want to play soccer. So
Yeah, that's just it's interesting, and then kind of like bums me out that
yeah,
it isn't. And I'm so happy that you're going to be part of that mix that's going to let them have those opportunities. Um, and I think the cool thing is too is if you get a couple of those kids that are actually talented and like into it, if you can reach out to
right, yeah, yeah.
other
No, that's
clubs or something,
yeah,
or even like, hey, like a junior college or a smaller school. Like I got a kid here who's just been playing and what have you. Those kids, like that would be like so stinking cool for those kids to see what's outside of their like kind of their area.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. at the previous high school, I had this player. He didn't play club, but I mean, he put in the work all the time, trying to get better technically, and even during the summers, he would come and train with me, and we train together. And I mean, he's playing JUCO now in Oklahoma, and then so anytime he has the opportunity to come back, he always wants to play or train. So yeah, I mean that opportunity is there for those players. It's not at the exposure that we wanted, but if like you or or I have connections on on Twitter or even around locally, we can help make those things come a reality if that's something that they want to continue doing for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, like I said, I think it's cool that in those kind of opportunities, someone like you and like the president of the club and stuff are in that mix and want to do so many positive things with them,
Yeah, we do.
um,
Yeah,
and to create opportunities and what have you. And if all it is for them to enjoy playing soccer for the next 5 years, then so
yeah,
be it. Um,
yeah. I think our club philosophy is just we want them. Well, and the crazy thing is that U14 is at the highest age that we have at the club. So we want our players to continue playing throughout, I guess, their high school experience and throughout their adulthood. That's our club. Like we just want them to continue playing until they can't no more. Because of the opportunities and exposure that the club unfortunately doesn't have. So.
so after this season, like your daughter, where does she play soccer next year?
Well, the team will try to have the team together, and then so they'll continue to move up ages.
So we're going to continue to build
Right,
forward
right.
so that that's awesome. So it's
But
almost,
there has been players that are a year or two older where they couldn't play, this past year because there's no there's no team. So
that's super interesting.
yeah, but so they come train with us if they wanna play, they just come practice with us.
Which is again like that's so stinking cool. It's so like a community based
Yeah, absolutely.
club,
It's definitely community based. Yes.
which is awesome. That's one of the things I'm trying to do with my school district. We're socioeconomically really low, and so I'm trying to do, and it sounds like you're doing the same thing, is trying to meet people where they're at.
Hmm.
So we're trying to do camps, but some of them can't get there. So can I move to a even if it's a spot of grass that's now within walking distance of certain neighborhoods where they can
Right.
all come and be a part of those things. And this has got my brain rolling though. It's pretty cool.
That's
You
good.
you
That's
hear
awesome.
you hear so much about, and there's always that conflict of select clubs and the amount of stinking money that people have to pay and all this kind of stuff. And then I think we take for granted that there are people that don't have the same opportunities that others do. And I think it's cool, one, that they get to play at all, and two, like
Yeah.
that there's a setup that you're putting in. I think like sounds like you guys are gonna have a good vision, like a pathway. It sounds like you're talking about trying to grow it from younger to older.
Right. Right.
Because I think the more you guys can get them, or you all can get them exposed,
Right.
uh, they start to recognize like, oh man, this game of soccer is pretty cool. And
Right.
then the conversations change. Now it's just like, hey, let's give them something to play.
Yes.
As they do it more, then they start saying like, what else is there? What else can I do with soccer? And then,
Right. Absolutely. One of my one of my players was like, I think this was the most serious I've ever taken soccer before. And but he said, but this was also one of the funnest seasons. Just because yeah. I mean, I take the game seriously. I love the game, and I just want to be able to share that passion with our players. I definitely love the game more than my daughter. Her first sport is basketball.
oh, basketball. All right.
Yeah, her first sport is basketball, and that's okay. So, but when that player said this is most serious, but the most funnest, I mean, that's totally worth all the time we spent coaching them. So, and we we only had 12 players, and then one moved away, so we had 11 players almost every game. Sometimes we had 10, and we're playing 11v11. So
Yeah.
it was
No complaining about playing time,
no,
but running out of gas pretty quick for some of them probably.
yeah, and I mean, but just with the style that we played, not so direct. Even if we wanted to play direct, we couldn't play direct.
Yeah, it was great.
They hung on for for the hour of the game. So
What's the experience been like coaching your daughter? Do you coach her in basketball too?
no,
So
thank God.
yeah. So is that a positive? Because I coached my daughter as well up till she's a freshman now, up until probably 7th grade, and then that was the point where I realized the dynamic of dad and coach was too mushy, and it wasn't a difference. So when I would say something, it would be a daughter response back on the field, and I was like, "Okay, you're not open to." So how's your experience been with your daughter?
She's in 7th grade right now. She's 12, and I just hold her to a higher expectation, and I could be a lot nicer. So that's where I'm at. Where you have coaches that coach their daughter, and we let them have fun, and there's no conversations in the car. I'm like, this is what you could have done a little bit better, when we're driving home. And she's like, yeah, I know, but she's a champ. I think the coaching dynamic between her and I think it's good. It's just after the game or before the game where I could definitely work on not having such a high expectation for her. So
it's hard to turn off the coach part sometimes when you get in.
Yeah, that's where the issue is. It's not I'll console her or anything, but it's definitely, like you said, just turning off that coaching. Like, I just need to shut it off. So
is she a Miami Heat fan as well?
No, I'm just here by myself. They know I love my Dolphins and my Heat fan. My Heat, and I'm a Heat fan. If we can watch games together, we will. But I think that's just a unique part of me, and my wife and daughter, they just accept that for who I am. So,
are they OKC fans? Is that their?
Yeah, that my brother-in-law is a big OKC fan. I'm an OKC fan, so I enjoy watching them play as well. So, but when the Heat and OKC meet up, I get my Greenway jersey on, and I'm all for the Heat. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome. So I guess we'll just kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Twitter, Byron, BYRON 22911. That's my @ I'm a little different on the Twitter. I really just follow a lot. I just started recently posting those practice videos, and I'll continue doing that. But just like you said, if you can just take the pollution out of the way, and I see things and I respond to them. I'm not really like the content producer like you, but I'm glad for people like you, so I can bounce ideas off of. So, but I'll be willing to engage or talk or just meet just on Zoom or anything like that, just to talk soccer or just to talk philosophy, playing styles. I think that's awesome for us to continue learning. And we may not agree upon some things, but that's okay. And we'll take what we can from those disagreements. So
I think one of the best things you can do is what you just mentioned, which was take your activities or a sequence and a play in like a scrimmage or a game and put it out there on Twitter. I think there's too much, at least for me, where people say, "Oh, here's how we play."
Yeah.
And then when you go and watch, you're like, this isn't what you said. They type it, it's in words, but there's nothing to it. So that's why I always love to share your product.
Right.
Like when you put stuff out and say, hey, we did a 4v4+3.
Right.
And then you made some comments about, hey, we're still working on this, and this. But it's awesome to hopefully get some feedback from people like, hey, I see this. Maybe you guys can do, here's how I run my 4v4+3. And we count the number of passes, or we do it for 30 seconds, or we do this or that, or whatever. I think
that's the cool thing. Yeah, that's the cool thing. And I was that person. If this is how we play, this is how we do. So I'm looking forward to next time being able to catch my club team during practice, because that's always unique. But I'm hoping that for the spring I'm able to get some film to see how our playing style has gone from the fall to the spring. So
the other benefit of video, which I found, especially with club, especially with like your group, is if you film them in their first few sessions, and then every 2 or 3 weeks film them again, and then you can start. It's perfect stuff to use for like parents. Like, hey, look, here's where we were, whatever, January 18th. Here's where we are February 18th. Here's where we are March. You can see how like the quality, their touches are better, their decision making, all those things that you're going to keep, like receiving with the back foot. Like it was a mess in January. Now you can see, especially like your high school girls, like the 4v4. I know because I run that activity as well. It's a disaster the first session you do it. I tell the players, like, dude, let's work, because there's transitions. When you lose the ball, then you guys, there's all this movement, and the poor kids in the middle are like, who's got the ball, and all those things you have to work through. But then after you start doing it over and over again, like a month later, it's a completely different animal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so hard sometimes to say, like, oh yeah, we're getting better. You may not be winning, or especially in a scenario where you've got 11 players for your game. It's hard. Like, look, let's be realistic. It's hard to play a full 11v11 game with no subs, or even with one sub.
Right.
So, but within that game, we're seeing this thing occur and this occur. And I know video is just a huge.
Yeah, because you can think you have a great practice, and you watch film and you're like, oh, this was not as good as I thought it was. Yeah. You think practice was bad, and then you go back and watch film and you're like, oh, this was actually pretty good. It takes away the bias from our minds. And that's something, like you said, like that's what film does. It takes away bias, and it's something that I look forward to now when I set up our games in practice. So
it's awesome. It's awesome. Well, Byron, this has been awesome. It's so cool because, like I said, we've chatted quite a bit on Twitter and shared stuff, and so to have the opportunity to kind of get a little bit more background of who you are and what you're dealing with and all that kind of stuff, I think is going to have a huge value to people when they watch it and listen to it. So I appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, thank you.
On the podcast today. Hey, this is Kieran, Coaches Corner Chats, and I'm out. Peace.